Get Your Business News. Rofhiwa Madzena joining us in studio again. Hi, Rofhiwa. So tell us about this proposed unit at SARS that's getting wealthy people a little concerned.
That's right. It's really ruffled some feathers, Sally, but it's something to get more tax revenue into the country, and we'll unpack that in a moment. But basically, a new survey is showing that many of the country's biggest taxpayers believe a SARS unit aimed at targeting the wealthy won't close the tax gap. Now, the Revenue Service's High Net Worth Division ensures rich taxpayers comply fully with the country's tax laws. Less than half of the respondents to the PwC survey said the new unit would assist in closing the tax gap, while 36% said it would not. These respondents say the increased targeting might be the final push for many wealth taxpayers to take their money offshore. To talk more about this, I'm joined now by Elle-Sarah Rossato, who is the PwC Tax Controversy and Dispute Resolution Leader at PwC. Thank you very much for your time this evening. I think before we get into the nitty-gritties of some of the arguments that have come out of the survey, what is it exactly that the survey looked at in terms of shedding some light on tax in South Africa?
Thank you, Rofhiwa, and good evening to you and your listeners. And your viewers, thank you again for giving me the opportunity. I think what's key in this year's survey is that we looked again at 6 categories across various areas of dealing with SARS. And those areas were audit processes first, of what our corporate taxpayers experience when engaging with SARS on audit or other related areas. It was the voluntary disclosure program. It was the SARS service processes. So how equipped were SARS officials, for instance, in dealing with taxpayer issues or escalations or even complaints? And then also looking at the COVID-19 tax relief measures. How efficient was that? How effective was it? Did the taxpayer community really feel that it impacted them and gave them the necessary help or relief that they needed? And then finally, taxpayer behavior. And these are areas where we look at what drives taxpayer compliance.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that third point about the COVID-19 pandemic and how tax was handled with that. A lot of the people in the survey indicated that there was not enough tax relief given to taxpayers during this period. I mean, in your engagement and in hindsight, what exactly could have SARS done in partnership with various stakeholders to ensure as much relief as possible?
So again, it's a difficult area, and I think that different taxpayers across different areas experience the impact of the lockdown levels in their businesses. But I think the greatest concern for taxpayers were really to get those tax refunds or the VAT refunds out as quickly as possible. I think lots of our respondents felt that perhaps the categories of what they called qualifying taxpayers could have been increased. And I think then there was also a call to ask revenue to have a look at other aspects of the tax types that could have potentially have helped them to just ease liquidity. So, for instance, VAT wasn't necessarily part and parcel of any of the relief measures, which I think taxpayers felt really hard on their pockets. So, again, it's having cash available and having the means to conduct your business. And potentially when reaching out to SARS, you would have seen a number of our respondents said taxpayer officials would just not equipped to deal with the queries that taxpayers had in relation to the remedies and the relief measures that were announced.
Right, and now a little bit of a controversial aspect that's come in with high net worth individuals and the tax that they contribute, the division that's been looked at by SARS. And a lot of people, especially those high net worth individuals, feeling very wary about this particular division. I mean, what would warrant their concerns? Because ideally, SARS is looking at ways to gain more revenue apart from the streams that exist already.
I think, as you mentioned in the beginning, the concerns would potentially be taxing the already overtaxed. And is it really going to close the tax gap? So I think the questions that potentially is mulling around in high net worth individuals' minds are, what are they doing? Are they trying to target us even further? If I look at the flip side of the coin from a SARS perspective, I think it's not necessarily all bad. I think the idea behind it is really to get a specific grouping or a division in place to deal with high net worth individuals on a more personalized level. So almost to give them, for lack of a better word, a personal banker experience, so that they are able to speak to SARS directly. So similarly so that the corporate taxpayers have a large business center in Midrand that they can speak to directly, that they've got a relationship manager. I think similarly so is the departure point for the high net worth division. Interesting enough, our participants in fact said 47% believe that it would assist, while, as you said, 36 said it potentially won't, or 16 said they don't think at all. So an interesting development, and a lot remains to be seen.
Right, and I mean that efficiency rather that you've just mentioned in terms of the taxpayer creating a relationship with a SARS employee when it comes to their tax matters is very difficult, because the survey also indicated quite a number of inefficiencies when it comes to processing tax documentation.
Correct. Unfortunately so, and specifically there was a 20% drop on the release of VAT refunds from last year. So I think 45% of our respondents said even after they had submitted the documentation, it took an inordinate amount of time to actually get the VAT refund out. Also a little bit of a lagging in terms of SARS just ticking all the boxes on the tax administrative front. So for those of you that don't know, as soon as SARS commences an audit, they are supposed to be sending you a progress report on how that audit is developing, and necessary steps that they are taking in finalising the matter. So a little bit of a lagging there. And then finally, an improvement, somewhat of an improvement on finalising audits within 1 to 3 months, but still 17% saying that investigative audits with SARS take 12 months or longer to resolve. And finally, on transfer pricing audits, more than 47% of our clients saying it's a complicated, drawn-out, long audit, and sometimes met with aggressive behaviour from SARS officials. So a worrying statistic there.
Very worrying indeed, but hopefully as we come past the pandemic, we will start to see some more efficiencies in departments like SARS and other stakeholders which are involved with money matters like tax. Elle-Sarah Rossato, many thanks for your time this evening. She's from the PwC Tax Controversy and Dispute Resolution, and she's the leader of that particular department. Let me take you